My name is Kate Leek, and I'm giving a speech on the DREAM Act. Imagine living in a world where you have no freedom, where at any moment without warning you could lose everything you've ever known despite being devoid of fault. Envision that you pledge your allegiance to a nation's flag every day, and yet, due to the fact that you've been forced into a nation without documentation, you are sentenced to suffering. Now, this is the life of hundreds of thousands of undocumented minors in America. Referencing these victims, Professor Roberto Gonzalez of the University of Washington states, "Yet because of their immigration status, their day-to-day lives are severely restricted and their futures are uncertain. They cannot legally drive, vote, or work. Moreover, at any time, these young men and women can be, and sometimes are, deported to countries they barely know. They have high aspirations, yet live on the margins. What happens to them is a question fraught with political and economic significance." The Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors Act, otherwise known as the DREAM Act, offers a chance of refuge and opportunity for those who have been placed under the unfortunate providence of being forced to a nation without personal consent. Now today I hope to inform you about the DREAM Act, why it should be passed on both a political and humane standpoint. I'll also start to share the testimony of a young man who is eligible for the DREAM Act and continue to explain the requirements one must meet to attain citizenry and the options and benefits the Act grants. I'll inform you on the history of the DREAM Act and where it stands today, and I will also provide some common counter-arguments and a rebuttal. Now, Andre was 4 years old when his mother relocated to America and left him and his younger brother in Colombia. When he was 8, she created fraudulent passports for her sons, and they were flown to America with no say in the matter. In the 5th grade, Andre rushed home with a permission slip for the class field trip, which required some emergency and social security information. His mom sat him down and he began to explain the technicalities of his residency and why he couldn't participate in the field trip. And from that moment on, he felt as though he didn't belong in the only place he knew was home. All because his choice was abducted from him by his parent. And now he lives every day in fear that he's going to be deported to a country that, though he was born in, is completely foreign to him. Now, Andre, like many others, is 100% eligible for the DREAM Act. In order to qualify for the DREAM Act, the student must have moved to America before the age of 16 and must be under the age of 30. Students must have lived here for 5 years prior to the enactment date of the Act and must encompass good moral character, pass background checks, and graduate from high school or attain a GED. The DREAM Act places high standards and prerequisites on the individual in order to achieve legal status and citizenry. And if eligible, the student will be granted the right to go to college and attain a degree, or serve in the U.S. military for 2 years and then be put on their way to citizenship. The DREAM Act has become so intricately designed by its advocates over the past years. The DREAM Act has been debated for over a decade now, and it was first introduced to the 111th Congress and the Senate on August 1st of 2001. And since then, the Act has been introduced several times and fails before ever making it to the executive branch. Now, tensions have risen over the debate for 11 years, and both sides have strong and valid points. But none of the arguments opposing the DREAM Act have ever proved to withstand without a matching retort. Now, arguers say that America cannot afford the DREAM Act, but in fact, the Congressional Budget Office analyzed it and concluded that it would reduce the nation's deficit by $2.2 billion over the process of 5 years. According to Roberto G. Gonzalez, given the opportunity to receive additional education and move into better paying jobs, undocumented students would be able to pay more taxes and invest more money into the U.S. economy. One of the largest debates concerning the DREAM Act is that it would send a message of rewarding illegal behavior. But this is false, because with the passing of the DREAM Act comes hard work and patience through a 13-year process. The debate can go on, and they can argue the DREAM Act until their hearts are content, but I say that it's time to put down prejudices and grant an opportunity not to illegal immigrants, but to fellow human beings who deserve all of the mercy and prospect as those who are born within our borders. Now today we've discussed the story of a boy who was brought to the United States without documentation. I dissected the DREAM Act, what it stands for, and how it has progressed and faced trial over the past decade. And I've also brought to your attention the arguments against the DREAM Act and the statistical reasoning that counters these arguments. Now when the Act comes up in common conversation, you can be prepared and knowledgeable of it, and acting as a campaigner for the cause, and unafraid to know or to share what you've learned. And remember that our nation was built on immigrants, and our founding fathers were avid supporters of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The DREAM Act is like a gift that we as a nation can give to innocent victims of suppression. It is inhumane that undocumented minors have no future but that of a low education and illegal residency status due to the choices of their irresponsible caretakers. If we can all agree that no human being should live this way, and that there is a solution, then why isn't this national problem being fixed? The DREAM Act cannot die. It's time to make this dream, along with the dreams of undocumented minors, come true.